am I the a-hole for disowning my adoptive son since he chose his people over us?
Please define.
His people?
Yes.
We will. So this comes from Throwaway 8578, and they say, I know this title is a bit weird, but this was the best way I found to translate what was said. Obligatory apologies for bad grammar and or spelling. This does not take place in the U.S. All right. So let me give you a little backstory and background to the situation. About 19 years ago, me and my husband had been driving on a highway back from a small vacation when along a particular long stretch of road, absolutely no buildings around, only a ton of grass and hills as far as the eye could see, we spotted a little boy just sitting by the side of the road. Put I see you in the chat if you know what's going to happen. I feel we're going to get a little Moses story going on here. Like I mentioned, there was nothing around 4 miles and no cars close to where the boy was. So we decided to stop and see if everything was okay. When we got closer to the boy, let's call him Jason, fake name, it was very easy to see he was dirty and malnourished since the only thing he had on were some diapers. He was so small, it didn't look like he could be older than 3. I later found out he was actually 5. We asked him why he was alone, and he told us that Mommy and Daddy put him here and told him to wait. There was no cell signal in the area, so he did the sensible thing and brought him back to town to the nearest police station. So it sounds like this kid got abandoned.
Yeah.
Wow. To make a long story short, and this is going to be a long story long, there's a lot to this story. CPS was called. We discovered his parents were some druggies that were on the run from a felony.
Wow.
The only other relative Jason had was his grandmother, who was very mentally ill and couldn't take care of him, and we felt bad. He went into foster care soon after, but we felt bad for the kid and kept in touch with his caseworker. I had, and still do, have an extremely well-paying job at the time and could easily afford a decent lifestyle for a small family. So after a few months of discussions between ourselves, the caseworker, and some bureaucracy, we formally adopted Jason. This is the Roadside Kid, which would be a great name for a blues band. Roadside Kids.
I love that.
Is that not a great name?
The Kids Bob Blues Brothers.
Yeah, dude, that's so dope. Now, on to the situation. About 3 years ago, Jason's parents were released from prison on parole. They contacted him not long after in hopes of reconnecting. Prior to that, they'd sent him a few odd letters here or there, but nothing substantial. And again, this is 20 years ago. So OP and their husband, male 44 and male 40, have been married for 20 years together for 22. And their adoptive son is 24. So they found him when he was 5. So this is now 19, almost 20 years later. So now onto the situation. So at first he was hesitant to talk to them, but ended up caving and meeting them for lunch one day. I'll admit that part of me was a bit jealous and apprehensive of what could happen, but I could see that it really was something that my son wanted to do. So for his sake, I swallowed those and supported him through it. It wasn't very long, about 3 months, I think, that he started to pull away from us. At first, I chalked it up to him being excited to actually talk to his bio parents after so long, talk about what had been going on in his life, spend some time with them, etc. But it started to bother me when he'd cancel plans with us last minute because Mom had an emergency or Dad really needs me to help him with something today, or whatever other excuse that he'd come up with. Do you see an ICU? I see an ICU. So my ICU potentially is homophobia. That's my ICU.
Wow. I was not seeing that ICU at all.
I don't know if that is true.
Yeah.
But I could see if these parents are like not good, druggies, like bad influence, I could see them influencing him badly.
My conspiracy theory is that the family is using him for something, or like trying to get back into his life to get, I don't know what you could get out of your kid that you abandoned, but I feel like they're using him.
Yeah. Organs.
Jesus
Wait,
Christ.
what?
I thought the ICU that I was thinking of was, he's now meeting his parents and he's like, I want to have a connection with them. I've never been able to talk to my biological parents before. And they're just like, making him run errands, do stuff for them, basically making him work for their approval, like abusing the relationship of this, I'll say kid, 24-year-old kid trying to finally connect with his biological parents.
Miss Jaybird says maybe they got him into that could be another ICU. Put ICU and what you think it might be in the chat. We want to hear from you guys. But yeah, these are all terrible situations. I hope none of them are true. I hope it's just like he has a loving relationship with his parents. But that's probably not what happened. So now he used to come over to our house at least once a week, call every day or so. But now we were lucky if he even came by that month. Again, I thought that was just temporary, that he was just excited and soon enough he'd start spending time with us again. We were overjoyed when he invited us over to dinner one night. It was supposed to be a family gathering, us and his bio parents and his wife, girlfriend at the time. I wasn't exactly keen on meeting the people that had left my son for dead on the side of the road, but decided to give them the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe they had atoned and changed. Besides, he's our son and we love him. We had to at least try. This is terrible, but I know things. To say the diner was a disaster is an understatement. His bio mom was extremely rude to my husband and I the entire night, making passive-aggressive, homophobic, and racist remarks every chance she got. His father was much the same. It all came to a head when she straight up called us the F word and threw a glass at my husband. A screaming match followed and we left soon after.
Through a glass?
Through a glass. This is terrible, but who called it?
This guy.
Who called
this
it?
guy right here.
I'm not saying I'm Resident Nostradamus, but
I predicted that mother effer. I did that.
Reddit Nostradamus.
Oh.
You're getting too good at this, Sam.
Dude, I can predict the future.
Put it in a Reddit story format and he can predict it.
Dude, I'll honestly think so.
Give him a I-mail 30, knows the end of it. No, done. You don't need to read any more.
The next day, Jason apologized profusely and promised they'd never do something like that again. I told him neither me nor my husband wanted to have anything to do with them and would appreciate if he understood that. He seemed to, but continued to pull away the next few months. And that leads to what happened last week. Jason proposed to his girlfriend about 9 months back and has been preparing for the wedding ever since. Of course, we were overjoyed for him, but a few months went by. We've seen this before, and no invitation came. Every time we asked Jason, he would say they hadn't been sent out yet and change the subject. Well, last week, my husband saw a Twitter post from one of Jason's friends, his groomsman, that went a few weeks back with the invitation in hand. We confronted Jason about it the next time he came over, only for him to drop the bomb on us that we had not been invited. We asked why. Why, John? Why?
I want to know too.
And he said his parents didn't want us there and wouldn't come if we did. So whose side are you on, Jason? Where do your values lie? Do you want to punish the people that have been there for your entire life, or the homophobic junkies that just came in when it was convenient?
It's your choice, my boy.
Jason, you're the a-hole. I was effing furious. I asked him how he could choose those pieces of human garbage, those pieces of trash, over us. Why were they so important? What did we do to deserve this kind of treatment? His answer: they understand me better. They're my people. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. At this point, my husband was crying, asking how could he do this? I've only ever been truly angry a few times in life, and this moment managed to top all of them. I threw him out right then and there and told him to never come back, that he wasn't our son anymore. I spent the rest of the day hugging my husband and trying to calm him down. The next day, I canceled everything that we paid for the wedding, which was basically everything important, even the ones we couldn't get a refund on. Of course, Jason had the gall to call and scream at me, asking how I could do that to him. Where would he find replacements for a wedding that was supposed to happen only a few months from now? I told him I didn't give a crap and said maybe you should ask those two leeches you call parents for some help. 19 effing years of my gosh darn life spent raising and loving a kid that I considered to be my own son, only to be treated like garbage, giving blood, sweat, and tears so he would have a good life, all the love we could possibly give. And that's what we get as a reward. Also, to anyone who has thoughts on this story, please DM Riley and we will call you. As for why I'm asking if I'm the a-hole, obviously Jason's the a-hole, but I think OP is probably going to ask, are they the a-hole for canceling everything? And
yeah,
stuff?
for the reaction.
Yeah. Some people have been calling and messaging us, mostly Jason's friends and a few of our family members, calling us heartless and monsters for doing what we did to him. And that's honestly got me questioning if I went a bit too far in anger. After all, parents are supposed to love unconditionally, right? But if so, how do we ever get over something like this? How can we deal with this feeling of betrayal? Are we justified in feeling that? So am I the a-hole? There is an edit. 2 edits. Edit 1, I've added a comment for the clarification on a few points you've seen asked in the comments. Edit 2, I'm seeing quite a few racist comments in this post, and to those people making them, F you. But John, obviously Jason, ungrateful piece of crap son, right?
Yep.
But is OP the a-hole for basically saying, you are no son of mine, canceling all of the wedding stuff, and kind of like, I don't know, slamming the door on like the Jason slammed the door on them, and then OP slammed the door right back.
So breaking it all down, I think first talking about Jason the son, I think and theorize, and obviously I'm no expert and could be wrong, but I think and theorize what I said earlier, which was he wants to build this road with his parents that like abandoned him, right? And he's having this, I don't even know what the term for it would be, but he's trying to get back in their good graces, even though he's never had their approval. He's never even had them involved in his life.
And I think we talked about this in a story before, but he's probably trying to curry their favor.
Yes.
Because he doesn't want to be abandoned again. And so there's this deep psychological thing of like, he was abandoned by these people and he just desperately wants their approval for any means. So that's not an excuse for his actions.
No.
But I think it gives us a little understanding.
I think it's deep trauma, and that does deserve to be called out as what it is. Now on to the parents. The parents sacrificed so much. They raised this kid that they weren't expecting to. I think did just taking on the task. That alone is doing a great job. Loving this kid. You know what? I think I'll say everyone is the a-hole here, because even though Jason has very deep traumas that he definitely deserves to have help with to work through, I do not think that's something that his parents deserve. That when I say his parents, I mean his adoptive parents, like the people that raised him. And then on the flip side, I honestly don't even necessarily know if I blame OP for the initial reaction of being so hurt after giving that much love and life. But I think you kind of, after settling down, maybe realize that maybe it is the trauma and him trying to desperately get the approval of these two people that are manipulating him into doing all this bidding and basically getting them on their side.
Yeah. I mean, we read a story like a little bit ago about this guy named Rob who was totally taken, like he was the father figure for this person and was continually just like not recognized for it. And Lysandra Rivera, thanks for the $5 tip, asks, what would Rob do? And if I was looking at the Saint Rob, who basically, I mean, he forgave his like adopted daughter for being so being so not ignorant is the wrong word, but being so obtuse in not like actually giving him the care back that he gave to her. In that case, Rob would forgive. And I think the least a-hole thing to do would be to say, Jason, you're being an absolute a-hole, but when you're ready to stop, like, we're here. When you take on the role of a parent, it's unconditional love for your child.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I believe. And I think like, even if my children are a-holes, I think the door will always be open for them to grow and not be an a-hole.
I don't think I would ever say you're not my child, especially someone in Jason's position who has
abandonment issues already.
Abandonment issues and deep trauma. That hurts too.
Yeah. Katie Lynn, inconsiderate. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah, for being so inconsiderate. But I think a lot of you are also saying, should there be repercussions for these actions?
Absolutely. I think it's 1,000,000,000% fair for there to be repercussions.
Canceling all the wedding stuff.
I mean, ideally, the punishment is the most effective vehicle to help the person learn and get over the hump.
Bar.
I don't know that canceling maybe I'm just thinking out loud here, so bear with me y'all, but maybe you almost like dangle a carrot of like the rest, like, hey, we want to throw a banger wedding for a son that we love and who loves us, but I don't think we can go and attend and honestly continue to fund everything. You totally broke our hearts, but we won't pull out of what we've already committed, because we do want to see you happy, but
realize what you're doing.
We want to come and help celebrate, almost like incentivizing him to.
But then it's like incentivizing him with money, which is not really a good incentive.
Yeah, it's definitely tough.
If your kid did this, would you cancel the wedding stuff? If you're uninvited from the wedding, would you cancel it? I'm on the fence. I am
on the fence too.
Oh, man, I would be super hurt. I would probably cancel everything that I could get back money from, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's hard. What would you guys cancel? Would you guys cancel stuff? I know some of you guys are more petty than others, but would you cancel or not?
Yeah, because I guess if you do cancel the things you could get refunded, there's still a punishment, quote unquote. Like some of the things they'll have to go.
But it's not just fully petty. It's like, oh, I'm going to get back stuff that I spent on. But if it's like canceling stuff that you don't even get refunds for, then like that's fully like, I'm trying to punish you and there's no upside for me.
I think maybe unfortunately here, you have to play the long game, which is you do all the saintly things and treat them as best as possible. And so like, hey, I'm going to keep all my commitments. And I believe long-term, Jason has time to grow up, and it might take a long time. You know what? It might not ever happen. But eventually Jason will realize, here are these people that still backed me when I turned my back on them for parents that abandoned me. And I think that will help Jason realize faster that it's like, hey, we're still going to back you, and we're still going to
You're totally right,
love
dude.
and support you.
You're totally right. Yeah. I mean, yes, actions have consequences, but I don't think I'm more carrot than stick with showing people how to do the right thing. And I think I agree with you. I think for that reason, don't cancel anything, but just say, hey, Jason, we could cancel everything right now, and we're not because we want to see you happy. Whenever you're ready to, walk through that door and treat us with respect, we're here.
You best believe I'm going crazy in that thesaurus to find the strongest word for disappointed that exists. The nuclear disappointed will be dropped, but otherwise we will care.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I was just going to say, one of Riley's worst fear is John saying that he's disappointed. And just know that carries some weight.
Yeah. Hearing it from him would crush me. From Sam, like, I'll be like, I'll probably be down for a day, but then, like, I'll get back up. But hearing it from John, dude, I wouldn't know what to do with
But
myself.
you've never given me any reason to ever be disappointed in you.
Oh, and I always worry that I do have a reason for him to be
He will
disappointed
never
in me.
have to use the thesaurus.
Exactly, dude.
We got some donos before we do our call-in from one of our fans. But if you guys want to read those off before we do that.
Sure
thing. Foxy Cat, thanks for the $5. What do you do when your hubby had intentions to get a spicy massage without your knowledge? Sorry, random, need advice. That's a big one.
You talk about it.
Yeah.
Because if that's not in your relationship contract.
Say, I don't want that, and don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if he does that, then harder conversation.
Yeah.
But you need to have a conversation right away.
That's true. Forgetful Sophie, thanks for the $2. Pay for a wedding you're not invited to. Please be for real. Yeah, I think, there's probably a lot of people in the comments right now.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like, I would understand someone wanting to not do that.
Yeah.
I think what we're trying to think is, what is the least a-hole-ish thing to do? Because I think we're about growth on this show, and like what would actually help someone grow. Like, I think, John, you said it beautifully. Just replay what John said. Like, whatever helps that person grow best is what you should do. And I think what John said was the thing that would help grow best.
We're growers.
And showers. But so Forgetful Sophie actually donates another $5. But being a parent doesn't give you exclusive access / raising them isn't a fail-proof method of them being good people. This is just yeah. It's like you can do all you can, and it's not on you ultimately.
They still have free will.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt Hattergal for the $5. My money is on that the birth parents want their child to give them money. When he says no, they will bounce.
Ooh.
Maybe that's down the pike.
That's a good one. They might be warming them up. And then Elite Technician, thanks for the $5 on the donor link. This sounds like what my boyfriend's family is going through with his sister.
That would suck. I'm sorry you're going through that, Elite Technician.
But if you want to have us console you and work through that, send it in.
Yeah. And also, our entire members only community disagrees with us and says, what would you do? 90% of you said cancel.
Yes, but let's get more Ducks' opinion on this.
So yeah, the question is, would you cancel or would you not?
Here we go.
Hello.
Hello. More Ducks. How's it going?
That's going great. How are you guys?
Very well. So question to you. Would you cancel or would you not? And why?
Well, as a petty ass person, I would say take everything. But as a parent, I think I would do like one big payment and say, like the most expensive thing and say, this is a gift to you. So you can still show them that you're still there.
But then cancel the rest of the things that you could get like refunds for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're still petty,
Yeah. And I mean, in defense of that, I think it does, because one could argue like, oh, you're rewarding bad behavior by still paying for everything. You're giving them a little, which is like, hey, I'm still going to support you. I still love you. I'm going to be here for you when you're ready. And I'm, doing this, quote unquote, good thing for you, giving you a gift. But also your actions have consequences at the same time. So here's some consequences.
Kind of a sweet spot.
It's kind of a best of both worlds, to be honest, more Ducks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, at that point, he'll have to realize that, the parents more than likely will straight up run back away from him and realize that they're not going to be there to pay everything for him.
Yeah. And with time, he'll probably learn but as John said, might take a ton of time.
And that's kind of scary. Like, I mean, you're a parent, more ducks. Like, how scary would it be to basically, you're almost like letting your child go free into this like dangerous path, quote unquote, that you don't know when they're going to come back? Like, how would you feel?
I'm assuming my entire heart will break and I will worry about them every day. But in the end, I mean, I just got to hope and wish that I did a good job raising them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's favorite parenting quote is like, your kids are not your own. They're the sons and daughters of tomorrow. They come through you, not from you. You are the bow from which their arrow flies.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Thank you so much for calling in for Ducks and giving your perspective.
All right, thank you guys. I love y'all.
Love you too.
Back. Chat soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Why is our community so good at like giving advice? It's so good. I do like that. I feel like that's like a perfect sweet spot.
I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but I love when we're able to hear from people who have the perspective of the people have been through. We got a call just recently that like, oh, they had an emotional affair. We had a call from a parent. Like, these are people that are really close to the scenarios we are talking about, giving their POV, which is so valuable.
But that is where that story ends. But not where this episode ends, because we're going to get into this next story, which is
The last one.
Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter she is welcome to live with her mother full-time because I won't get rid of her Harry Potter themed bookcase?
We love Harry Potter, though. Why are you getting rid of that?
We are Harry Potter stans on this show.
Yeah!
That's right. Jazz Like Original 358 attempts to defend themselves. I'm having a bit of a family drama and need a reality check about if I am being unreasonable here. I really need the perspective of LGBT plus sensitive individuals because the drama surrounding transphobia perpetrated by J.K. Rowling.
My sister has nuanced opinions of this because she's a Harry Potter lover and a J.K. Rowling unlover. I wish she was here. Sophia! Actually, maybe we could call her and we could get her perspective at the end.
Now that's
Dude,
a call.
she's off the clock. Let her be.
She's off the grid.
Fine, you're right. She would actually, I think she would love this question, though.
Yeah, we should have done it earlier.
True.
What's she up to? She's at a movie?
She's in a movie, I think.
Okay. All right. Yeah, she's off.
So my stepdaughter is going through a pretty rough time. The last couple of years have been really rough on her. She's been dealing with bullying at school, being held back a year, not getting along with her mom's new husband, self-harm and identity issues. Lots of questions around her sexuality and gender. We have been working on getting her a good mental health team of doctors and therapists to help her navigate all of this because we know we aren't throwing her to the wolves or the internet to deal with it all herself. I have been in her life since she was 7. We've always had a pretty good, though not terribly close relationship. I have not taken on a paternal role, but have always tried to make myself available for her.
Okay. This is OP's stepdaughter that's having all these issues.
Yes. Until last year, her mom had primary custody until her dad had weekends with alternating holidays. Last year, due to the issues with her school and mom's house, my stepdaughter requested that custody arrangement changed. Since she came to live with my husband and I full-time, there has been quite a bit of friction between the two of us. One of the biggest points of contention is my Harry Potter fandom, particularly the bookcase, and my supposed transphobia due to my apparently wrong stance when it comes to the politics regarding trans issues in our country. I grew up in the heyday.
The heyday of what? Oh, of Harry Potter?
Maybe. Let's see. So many of my childhood and teen memories are tied to the franchise of Harry Potter. There you go.
Dude, Harry Potter heyday was immaculate. I remember going to Harry Potter 2 with my dad. Oh.
So super quick, okay, story time. I ended up reading the Harry Potter series 7 times, but this was before I read everything, all of them. My mom surprised me on the last book released on my birthday, literally on midnight on my birthday. And they tried to get me tickets, but it was all sold out at like every Books A Million in town. And then my babysitter's cousin was like, oh, I can't make it. So they surprised me like flying back from camp. Like that day, she's like, we are going tonight to the Books A Million to get the book on your birthday.
No way.
Low-key, like one of the littest days ever.
That sounds sick.
It
yeah,
was
dude.
fire.
I have so many fond memories connected to Harry Potter too.
Yeah. And I was so young. I was in like elementary school.
Hey.
Yeah,
So I was
dude.
like
You were
just
40
barely
in
able.
elementary school?
Yup. I was too young to get the full wave, but I got a taste
got a
of
taste.
the book.
Yeah.
The book era. Anyways, I digress. There you go. There's an okay story time.
We're about Harry Potter like this, John.
Bro, I go hard in the paint for my boy HB. Don't get it twisted. Voldemort is an op. My friends and I were really into it. We attended midnight book releases, dressed up in costumes for movie releases, threw Harry Potter themed parties when we wanted to hang out, etc., etc. In many ways, it shaped the course of my entire life. Those same friends and I joined our high school's botany club because herbology, heck yeah.
Oh,
And that unlocked a lifelong passion of mine and my career in working with plants.
so literally Harry Potter shaped your career.
That's fire.
That's deep.
That's fire. Over the years, I've collected quite a bit of memorabilia, many of which are gifts, and they have always been displayed on my most prized possessions. A monstrously large custom bookcase my grandfather, a former woodworker, built for me when I was a teenager. I love this thing.
This is cute. I see the ICU though.
Oh yeah.
I totally see the ICU.
This ICU is Hagrid's family, a giant, just boom, boom, fee, fi, fo, fum, ICU, here I come. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Put it in the comments if you know what it is. It's pretty clear. I love this thing. The shelves are live edge black walnut slabs. All around the casing, my grandpa carved beautiful Harry Potter themed imagery. I'm talking owls, cauldrons, shooting stars, light bolts, and an adorable little rat at the bottom and nibble marks from said rat.
That is entirely thoughtful. Wow. Shout out to Gramps.
Dude, Grandpa of Human Space-Time Continuum Award. My God. It's both sentimental and valuable. The slabs of walnut for the shelf alone will be pushing $1,000, let alone the value of hand-carved craftsmanship. So this book, like to a Harry Potter fan,
yeah, that would be worth oodles.
up to tens of thousands of dollars, I would estimate.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Wow. The bookcase has always been proudly displayed in my home. It currently lives in our living room. During one of our family therapy sessions, my stepdaughter expressed that seeing my Harry Potter shelf made her feel really uncomfortable because of the author, and that she was really disappointed in me and her father for being so supportive of a bigot.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling.
I saw it coming.
We saw it.
We
That was
saw
the
it.
fee fi fo fum,
We
guys.
saw it coming.
The giant ICU.
Also, shout out to chat for knowing walnut is the hardest wood.
I didn't know that. I apologized for making her feel uncomfortable in her own home and said that I would take down the Harry Potter stuff. So I packed up all the Harry Potter themed merch off the shelves.
Wow.
Made sure I didn't have the books or anything on display that said Harry Potter anywhere. I bought some LED grow lights and converted it into a plant shelf to display succulents.
OP is doing the most. Honestly, I wasn't even expecting that OP would do that. Like, I would have been like, it's the art versus the artist kind of thing. Like, I think it's fine to enjoy someone's art, especially if it meant so much to this person.
Yes.
Throughout their life.
I think it is case by case. And there's definitely cases where it is and definitely cases where it's not.
And then there's bookcases.
And then there's magical bookcases. I bought some witchy but not overtly Harry Potter themed pots for the little guys, the succulents, that they would go on the shelf. This was not an acceptable compromise for my stepdaughter and has remained a point of contention. With my stepdaughter hurling that we, referring to my husband, broke a promise by saying we would get rid of the Harry Potter stuff. I tried to explain to my stepdaughter that while I do not agree with J.K. Rowling's political stance at all, the media has a special place in my heart because of the childhood association with it, and that shelf was very important to me because it was a gift from my grandpa. And the media meaning the Harry Potter series, not the media talking about J.K. Rowling. But she maintains that none of that should matter because in 2024, it is nothing but a symbol of transphobia and hate. At first, my husband was supportive of me and my desire to keep the bookcase, but lately the arguments are wearing on him, and he asked me if I would reconsider keeping it in the living room, suggested we rent a storage unit to house it in.
But that's like, is your grandfather still alive? Like, that's like commemorate the grandfather,
At
the relationship.
a bare minimum, put it in your like private bedroom.
Yeah.
I would not suggest a storage unit. That's a little bit of a slap. Like if it's in a storage unit, I'm sorry, but
That's kind of whack, dude.
memorabilia does go there, but that is not befitting of it.
No, this is art.
And this is also meant, like, I feel like the grandfather built this to last for a long time.
Beauty Like Night says the fact that the grandpa made the bookcase does bring nuance, though. Like, I think even for people who are like staunch J.K. Rowling haters and like believe that she truly represents like transphobia in its most deplorable form, would maybe give a little bit of leeway for a bookcase of this nature.
Right. Yeah. Even considering all of that, it's like with this specific scenario we're looking at, there's leeway for the bookcase, you know, not necessarily necessarily supporting J.K. Rowling and her views.
But also, I'm like, the stepdaughter is maybe not thinking from that place. The stepdaughter is going through like a really hard time.
Probably not. And also like the stepdaughter, step-parent dynamic of like, you're trying to win my approval, maybe. We'll see. But that might be at play. After the most recent blow up about it, I kind of lost my temper. I didn't yell or anything, but I did very firmly tell my stepdaughter that this is my home and my bookshelf stays.
Putting down the law.
Boom. If it is such a big problem for her, she can always go back to live with her mother. Was that too far?
Is that too far? Because the mother was pretty terrible to her.
I don't know. I'm not sure on that, but just kind of like, all right, you can get out of my house, kind of. You can live elsewhere.
But it's been so many conversations. I think it's not that bad.
Not the worst ever.
When I say it, I may say it. I don't think it's that bad.
I think it's a little bit too far.
But I mean, what did the mother do again? Kimberly finds it's not far enough. Send her to her aunt to live under the staircase.
Yes.
I think if it's like a really low blow where like the mother has really been really terrible. I forget what happened in the beginning.
Sorry. Yes, I found it. Last year, due to the issues with her school and mom's house, my stepdaughter requested that the custody arrangements be changed to live with OP and OP's husband.
Yeah, I think there is a slight maybe reframing where it's like, hey, this is a bookcase that stays. I know this house is maybe not the most comfortable, but like, or I don't even know what you say. Like,
I know you might not agree
with everything, and I want to make you feel as comfortable as I can, but this is my house and I also want to make sure that I feel comfortable.
And also, like, I feel like I've heard you out and made changes. Here's why, and here's what I did and why I personally feel that I've like done that and that I respect and wanted to take action on those things. But here's why this specific thing is something I want to keep here. And it is my house at the end of the day. But Opie says, I knew it was a low blow pretty much as soon as I said it. I quickly apologized, but it was out there. My stepdaughter has been on an emotional downward spiral. My husband and I have been arguing almost nonstop. I think it's mostly stress because he is at his wit's end with how to help his daughter, but he is becoming pretty mean and nasty towards me, telling me to grow up and just get rid of the effing bookcase. Ooh, get rid? I know I was a dick for saying my stepdaughter could always go back to live with her mom, and I suspect that will be my main topic at hand in our next family therapy session. But am I really being unreasonable in wanting to keep my bookcase? And there is an edit, there is relevant comments, and there is a update.
Our members only chat says, we asked too far to say you can live with your mother. Most people said no, 69%, 30% of people said yes. I think we kind of agree that it's like towing the line, but probably better not said in that way.
Yeah, I think a little too far.
And I think OP also said she was a little bit of a dick.
She felt that way after.
So
like, yeah,
that's telling.
Said that.
Tone is everything too.
Yes.
But I also think it's a little mean. And then Tomlet had a good $2 tip chat and said, not the a-hole, I'm a former Harry Potter stan in the LGBT community and do a lot of DIY projects. JK ruined Harry Potter for me, but the fandom believes the stories belong to us now, and she turned her back on her own message. Also, anything fan-made, aka doesn't pay JK, and that's fine.
Oh, that's another, I didn't even think about that part, because it's like, hey, she's not even, because that is a big in the art versus artist debate, that is a big point of contention of like, hey, the artist is getting paid off of you continuing to watch movies, play, like whatever, but in this specific case there actually is no financial tieback.
Exactly, which I think would make it completely fine. It's just going off a story.
Yeah, in this specific case, I believe that the art can be separated, and not just the art, specifically the bookcase, because it's almost like yet another degree of separation away from like the core works and core arts and the artist debates.
Yeah, I agree. But is there more to the story?
There is. Did we put up a poll? Have we done a poll on like basically that the art of the artist in this?
Oh yeah, that's a good poll. Maybe it's like, is having the bookcase transphobic?
There we go. Well, let's go there. Let's talk about it.
I feel like that's not like super, maybe that's a little bit too like obtuse. I don't know. I'm using obtuse a lot today.
Here we go. Riley sent it, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. All right, let's get into this edit while those results roll in here. So edit, thank you to everyone. Honestly, thank you for those who share their insight and advice. And thank you to the people who asked me hard questions that made me think, especially those who asked what matters more, a bookcase or my child / a child. I've been reflecting really hard on what my bookcase means to me and why it is so important. I'm hitting some deep truths I don't think I was ready to recognize about how I really feel about my relationship with my stepdaughter. All in all, I think we just need to shelve things until our next therapy session. I'll see myself out. But most people are saying no.
Yeah, most people are saying no.
Most people are saying no. That's the end of the edit right there. But as for some relevant comments here, and then we'll be looking for relevant comments if you guys have any. Well, I would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, so line up in the Discord to Dr. Riley.
That's right. Molasses Inevitable says, telling me to grow up and get rid of the effing bookcase, telling you to get rid of something your grandfather lovingly created for you because his daughter is having a teenage strope about it. F no. Is there room in your bedroom for the bookcase?
That's what John said. Nice.
Mention Interesting 58 says, that's maybe the best choice. Zugma says, or in OP's place, if my books and bookshelves aren't welcome, it's not a home for me. And none of my bookshelves were lovingly hand carved by now deceased relatives. Teenagers are prone to being extreme and overreacting. She will eventually grow up and realize how ridiculous and fair she is being. Deleted says, not to sound like a boomer, but this has to be some sort of generational thing, right? When we were kids, if one or more of my friends or I demanded that our parents remove a piece of furniture from their homes, they would simply laugh in our faces. Revolutionary Yak says, seriously, Zennial here, so Gen X, Millennial Cusper, my mother would have ignored me the first time and told me to get over it the second time I asked. Dad would have listened to me and then TD'd me, timed out, grounded me, and then would have told me when I paid for the house, I could get what I wanted. The classic boomer response right there. Fitz Design says, so while your comments were harsh, they were understandable. We went through something similar when one of our kids thought she might be trans, and it was a very challenging few years until she re-identified as cisgendered. We tried to be very supportive, as you have been, but every little mistake we made was leapt upon by her and her sisters as being unsupportive. We walked on eggshells for several years trying not to offend anyone. At the end, we had to say, we are sorry and we fully support you, but you need to learn to manage yourself. Not everyone in the world is going to bow down to ensure your comfort. We fully support you and have gotten you the psychiatrist and medical support that you need. However, you'd hammered us at every tiny mistake, and enough is enough. We are your parents. We support you, but we're not your punching bags. The point was made and life calmed down. I see some parallels here with your bookcase. It is part of you, and she needs to see that you support her and she is loved, but at the same time, you are not there for her to constantly beat on. Not everything you do is going to be perfect, and she needs to understand and accept that just as you are accepting her. Your husband needs to be on board with this as well, as if he is sabotaging you, then your efforts are doomed. If he can't support you, then you may need to think about whether or not your relationship is viable long term. Good luck, OP.
Really thorough comment.
Very, very thorough. To which OP responds, and we're getting into update right after this. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. It is very similar to what we are going through. This is very validating. My stepdaughter has definitely been trying on different identities and gets very upset when we slip up and make a mistake and use a wrong pronoun. It isn't intentional. Over the last 3 years, she has identified as male, female, non-binary, fluid, and other. Fluid was the toughest as she expected us to use different names and pronouns based on how she was presenting that particular day. Problem being, she most often wears gender neutral attire. Sorry, stepdaughter, for all the times I got it wrong when you wear sweatpants and a t-shirt. And that leads us to, by the way, the judgment on the post, which was not the a-hole on OP. So judging OP, not the a-hole. We do have an update. I feel
like we agree with that.
Yeah, we do have an update from 2 months later, but yeah, I think poll says point blank is the bookcase transphobic. It was a 98% no. I totally agree. Again,
who was the one person that said yes, or two people that said yes? I would be curious to know why.
Please let us know. Honestly, I think this is a very good discussion because then you dive into the meat and nuance of why. Because it is so easy to just label something as transphobic or whatever, but what is the true reason behind it? And truly both understanding and then, believing or not believing that that is the case. And yeah, I think that OP did a lot to show that they're like, hey,
OP tried. OP tried to make not consolations, but to make compromises with the stepdaughter by literally removing all of the memorabilia from the bookcase. So it's like not getting rid of the whole bookcase, I think, was a little bit too much. And I think it's okay for OP to stand that ground.
And I might be incorrect in this, but I believe OP was like, yeah, I don't agree with J.K. Rowling's views.
What was the end bit of what OP said?
That one was more on...
Oh, about like, she didn't, OP didn't know about like
her own discovering their own identity.
Yeah.
Going through that journey. But yeah, and as the Tomlet said, it's also not financially supporting back. So I think there's like kind of several layers here. 2 months later, in this update, someone asked if I could update the situation, and I'll try my best to summarize the past several weeks. My husband and I spoke about the situation. He apologized for being snappish with me and agreed that stepdaughter was being unreasonable about the bookcase. He ultimately agreed to back me about it. He and I are just as tight as we have ever been.
Let's go. Okay.
That's great. Great.
This is good.
Great
start.
Bit of this update. I once again apologized for stepdaughter for my remark I said out of frustration about her moving back with her mom. I reiterated that our home is her home too, and she is always welcome here. Love that. That even though families sometimes fight and disagree, we are family. Just like Harry, Ron, and Hermione. But the general argument about Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, and my bookcase continued to escalate for a couple of weeks.
Oh, it just comes back.
It just keeps on chugging like the Hogwarts Express.
Yeah, it's like, that scene where Ron goes, "Eat slugs, Malfoy," and then it just fires back at him, and he's just repeatedly throwing up slugs.
Barfing slugs, dude.
Oh, you thought the gagging was over? No!
It's back. And then the discontent about that started to bleed over into complaints about me. She started to get more disrespectful and sarcastic. Teenagers, what are you gonna do?
Wait, I thought it was going well.
You freaking thought, But guess what? Everyone thought that Voldemort was gone.
We did.
But he was back.
He came back.
That's right.
Got those Horcruxes.
Yep, he did that.
But
he got vanquished again. Spoiler alert. During all of this, we were still attending our family therapy sessions. Our therapist was pretty certain that the misbehavior was anxiety related and didn't suggest that we give in to the demands to have the bookcase removed and wanted to just keep working on the things that we have been. Well, stepdaughter's disrespectful attitude hit a climax. She called me the C word and some other choice things within my husband's earshot. My husband kind of lost it on her. I don't think I have ever seen him that angry before. He was bright red and vein popping angry as he marched her to her room and declared, "You will not speak to my wife in such a way."
All right, there we go.
Daddy laying down the law.
Okay.
Hard as a walnut. This was probably the first time my stepdaughter had ever seen her dad angry, let alone anger directed at her. So not even just angry in general.
Yeah.
Opie says it left her pretty shook. Like that was her rock bottom. We ended up needing to do a couple emergency sessions with her counselor because there was a concern about her relapsing with some self-destructive issues she had been working on. But that incident led to us having a breakthrough. Her counselor invited my husband and I into one of her sessions, and she had a bit of a breakdown. Basically, she was dealing with a lot of existential dread and a lot of fear due to politics and it being an election year. This ended up being an excellent opening for us to bond. This sounded silly, but I was able to pull up my social media timelines back from 2016 and I showed her some of the things I had written or had shared with me back then.
So basically he's like, hey, or basically she's like, look at what I've written from 2016 on. I'm on your side, like politically.
I think so. I think we're about to get more context. She was able to see that I shared a lot of the same fears that she has. So we've all had some really big talks about things like feeling helpless when things are out of your control, about disengaging from the media machine for your own mental health, etc., etc.
Agreed, dude. I used to listen to the news religiously and now I do not.
Yeah. Things have been on the upswing since then. Before she left for her mom's this past weekend, she even gave me a Mother's Day gift, an adorable planter that says, "Caution, mandrakes."
She's buying into the fandom.
We won her over. I love it. I put one of my favorite props in it, and it is front and center in my bookcase now. That is freaking adorable. We got some quick relevant comments to close us out. FU Creeps username says, yes, yes, yes. I love when communication actually comes to the rescue, although I hate that sometimes it has to be about our common plague of existential dread. Great job, everyone. And Fragrant Reserve says, it wasn't communication that came to the rescue. It was an old-fashioned bullocking by dad.
I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah, true. And Bex Callie says, well, this was an unexpected type of communication, wasn't it? It woke her the heck up, as it has never happened before, since she's not stooped so low before while taking out her anxiety on her stepmother. So she was extra receptive to the subsequent communications at the therapist.
So I guess yell at your kids?
Yeah, no. Well, I think it sounded like really the final thing that pushed her over the edge was her showing the receipts of her.
It seems like two things. It was one, the dad coming in and not being a passive parent. I was seeing that in the chat, not being a passive parent and saying, hey, you cannot talk to her like that. Not necessarily like, I'm not condoning like yelling at your kids, but being like laying down some boundaries. I think boundaries weren't really drawn by the father. At least I didn't see any drawn in the like early of the stories. But I think that was part of it. And then the other part, I think, was what you said.
Yes. It was the 1-2 diddly do.
Yeah. Like showing that, hey, I am like you. I am struggling with stuff like existential dread and the political climate being crazy. Like just know that I'm also on your side.
And then that brought them together in an amazing way. I would say this is kind of solved, at least for now.
There we go. Reddit solved the case.
Ha ha.
Reddit private eye.
Get him.
We got a caller, Jellyba.
Oh,
Jellyba.
Jellyba.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're gonna give them. They have some thoughts on the story.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
Let's call him. Jellyba, can you hear us?
But not yet.
Oh.
Oh,
Hello. How's it going?
I just connected it. Sorry, guys.
there we go. We just connected it. But Jellyba just said that maybe he didn't really like lay any boundaries before any of this happened. The father specifically.
Yeah.
Then he finally did.
Like, what do you think about how he laid the boundaries, and what do you think about OP showing like the political history?
I think yay on finally him setting down the boundaries. He should have done it sooner. I get that, they're giving her freedom to discover herself. I applaud that. But she's a teenager and hormones and she needs a little structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what like good parents do. They provide structure.
Yeah. And it's like ultimately like you can't just in the sake of your own like exploration and learning what you're about and who you are, you can't like disrespect your, the people who love you and care for you.
Identity doesn't come at the cost of other people's sanity.
Yes.
It's so true.
Well, Jellyba, thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
You
Have a great
rock.
rest of your day, and thanks for closing out the stream.
Ciao.
Good night, guys.
Night.
I think that's it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Closing out with the OK fam, our little sillies, our members only. And that closes out the members only stream. And again, this is going to be the recording of the episodes that will come out in like 1 or 2 weeks. So y'all will be immortalized in OK Storytime history and get these episodes a little bit early. But make sure to watch the edited versions later so you can see all of you in that episode.
That is right. And we're serious this time because if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you and see you tomorrow.